Every sign's strongest hours today, and the one stretch that suits routine work rather than fresh starts, are coming in this reading. Welcome and good morning to you. These readings are based on your Western Sun sign in the tropical zodiac, the sign the Sun occupied on the day you were born, with the houses counted from it. Readings today are from your Sun sign. The link below finds yours in 10 seconds. Here is the shape of the day. The moon is waning gibbous and moving through Pisces, so feeling runs ahead of argument and finishing outweighs founding. The sun is in Leo and enters Virgo in 21 days, which keeps warmth and visibility in your favor a while longer. One exact aspect forms, Moon trine Mercury at 10:58 tonight, New York time, a kind window for saying the thing plainly. Saturn, Neptune and Pluto are retrograde now, so revisiting, refining and repairing suit you better than launching. Let's take your sign. Aries, today rewards the quiet decision rather than the loud one, and by evening you will know exactly which decision that was. Yesterday the moon opened in your house, 11 of gains, friends and wider networks, so you likely felt busy, social, and pulled outward. Today the moon moves into your 12th house of rest, retreat and letting go, which favors closing loops rather than opening new ones at work. Clear one lingering task and let the money conversation wait for a steadier day. Saturn sits in Aries in your first house, retrograde and debilitated, and that is the pull inward you have been feeling in your own body and pace. Aries, you are ruled by Mars, and courage reaches you before caution does, which is exactly why this slower day asks something unfamiliar of you. In relationships, say less and listen longer. There is the quiet decision, and it is choosing patience over speed. For energy, protect your sleep and keep the day's demands modest. So the arc closes gently. What began outward turns inward, and that is not loss. If someone you know is unwell, sit with them a while and let them set the pace, asking nothing at all in return. Let today be useful rather than perfect. Taurus, today favors letting your wider circle carry a little of what you have been carrying alone. Yesterday pulled your attention toward career and public standing, and you likely felt the weight of being watched while you worked. Now the moon moves through your 11th house of gains, friends and networks, which makes this a good window to raise a question inside a group chat or a team thread rather than solving it silently at your desk. On money matters, keep the ask specific and the numbers plain. Taurus, you are ruled by Venus. You build slowly and you build things that hold, so a slow answer today is still a good answer. In relationships, the same openness serves you. Someone you know casually may offer exactly the practical help you did not think to request, and that is the payoff of asking. For energy, note that Saturn, your period lord, sits weakened and turned back in your 12th house, the quiet quarter of the chart. That simply asks for earlier rest and lighter evenings, nothing more, so the day settles where it began, in good company rather than solitary effort. If you can, share a meal with someone who is hungry today, wanting nothing back for it. Walk gently today and let the day come to you. Gemini, today rewards the ideas you have already been turning over, and the place they land is your working life. Yesterday, the moon opened your house 9, belief, learning and long journeys. So a bigger question or a stretch of restless thinking may have been circling since then. Today the moon moves through your house 10, the house of career and public standing, which favors letting your work speak in front of the people who decide things. With the Sun in Leo lighting your third house of ideas and communication, say the plain version of your thought early in the day. Curiosity moves you, Gemini, and reaching people costs you almost nothing. In relationships, Saturn is retrograde and weakened in your 11th house of friendships and networks, so a group plan may feel slow to shape. Let it stay unfinished for now and give one friend a real conversation instead. For energy, Mars and Uranus in your own sign keep you quick and a little wired, so keep your body moving in short bursts rather than one long push. The stretch that began in bigger questions now settles into visible work. Somewhere today, leave a shallow dish of water out for the birds or a stray animal, quietly, asking nothing at all. May today bring you one moment worth remembering. Cancer. Your own voice is the tool of the day, and used gently, it opens doors that force never would. Yesterday pulled your attention toward what you share and how deeply things change, so a slower, more inward mood was fair. Today, Mercury sits in your own sign, in your first house of self and how you meet the world, so words you have been circling can finally be said simply. Saturn, your period lord, is in Aries, retrograde and weakened, in your house of work and reputation, which favors reviewing and refining commitments rather than forcing new ones. Ask for the clarification you have been postponing. The moon travels through your ninth house of belief, learning and long journeys, and Cancer. You read a room before anyone in it says so. Guided by a ruler, the moon, so a conversation with someone from a different world than yours may reframe something you assumed. That promised clear sentence arrives around the moon's harmonious link with Mercury tonight, exact at 58 minutes past 10 in the evening. Keep your evening light and unhurried. The arc closes as gentle understanding. Today, offer someone your full, unhurried attention while they talk. No fixing, no advice, just listening for its own sake. Go easy on yourself today. The stars are patient, and you can be too. Leo, today ask you to hold your warmth steady while something beneath the surface quietly rearranges itself. Yesterday, the moon opened in your house of partnership and close alliances, and you likely felt that natural confidence and ease in the company of people who matter to you. Today, the moon moves into your 8th house of shared resources and deep change. So, money that belongs to more than one person, a joint account, a repayment, a family arrangement, wants an honest look rather than a quick fix. Sit with the numbers once, calmly, and you will see the shape of it clearly. Saturn, your period lord, stands retrograde and weakened in Aries in your 9th house of belief and long view, which means old convictions are being reconsidered rather than defended. In conversation, Leo, let the other person finish before you answer. That is where the clarity I promised arrives, not in winning the point, but in hearing it. With the sun at home in your own sign and Jupiter beside it, your warmth genuinely reaches a room before you have spoken, so pace your energy and rest early. If someone near you is carrying something heavy today, take one end of it quietly, asking nothing back. Wishing you a calm and steady day ahead. Virgo, today rewards the quiet inward work far more than any push for visible credit. Yesterday leaned into your 6th solar house of daily work, health and routine, so a good part of it likely went into tasks and upkeep that nobody thanked you for. Now the moon moves through Pisces in your 7th house, the ground of partnership and close alliances. So, work matters land better when you talk them through with one trusted person rather than deciding alone. Mercury, your ruler, moves through Cancer in your 11th house of networks and hopes, and precision is instinct for you. So, a clear message to a group you belong to is a good use of today. Virgo, your period Lord Saturn sits debilitated and retrograde in Aries in your 8th house of shared resources and deep change, which simply favors reviewing joint arrangements slowly instead of finalizing them fast. With Venus debilitated in your own first house, energy asks for gentleness, lighter food, an unhurried pace, an earlier close to the evening. So the reflective tone that opened this stretch settles here into companionship. Call on someone who has been alone lately, or sit with them a while, asking nothing back. Let today be simple. That is enough. Libra today asks you to notice how much steadiness you already carry into the rooms you enter. Yesterday leaned toward creativity and matters of the heart, and something in you likely wanted to be seen rather than useful. Today the moon moves through your 6th house, the place of daily work, health and routine, so the smaller tasks are where your attention lands best. Clear one backlog item you have been circling and let that be enough for the morning. With Mercury in Cancer in your 10th house of career and public standing, a message about your work is worth writing carefully rather than quickly. Saturn sits debilitated and turned back in your house of partnership, Libra, which simply means agreements need patience and second readings, not pressure. A conversation revisited kindly today usually finds its footing. Venus rules you, and you find the balance point in almost any room, though Venus in Virgo asks you to spend some of that grace on yourself. Rest earlier than usual and keep the day's pace gentle. The steadiness you built through routine is the same steadiness that settles the partnership question. Somewhere today, give up your seat, your place in the queue, or an unhurried half hour to someone who needs it more than you do. May something small go beautifully right for you today. Scorpio, your quiet authority is the real story today, and you do not have to raise your voice to use it. Yesterday's tone was inward and domestic, with the moon touching your home and family ground, so a slower start is understandable. Now the Sun and Jupiter both move through Leo at the top of your chart, the 10th house of your work and reputation, and that favors letting your results speak in a meeting or message you have been drafting. Saturn sits debilitated and retrograde in your 6th house of daily work, routines and service, which simply asks you to redo one small process rather than push harder on all of them. Scorpio, you are ruled by Mars. You go deep where others skim, and your resilience is easy to underestimate, including by you. The moon in Pisces lights your 5th house of creativity, romance and children, so an unhurried, playful hour with someone you love suits this evening better than a serious talk. Energy holds steady if you protect one real break. That inward start becomes outward steadiness by day's end. If someone near you keeps stumbling over something you find easy, sit with them and show them patiently, expecting nothing back. Carry this lightly and have a truly good day. Sagittarius, today favors going deeper into what you already believe rather than gathering anything new. Yesterday, the moon opened in your house 3 of courage and short journeys, and you likely felt wide and generous, more teacher than student. Today, the sun sits in its own strength in your 9th house of higher learning, with Jupiter, your own ruler, close beside it. Optimism is your default, and the honest search matters to you more than arriving. That is a true description of you, not flattery. At work, Venus is debilitated in your 10th house of career, so polish rather than launch. Refine one piece of work you have already started. Sagittarius, in relationships, Mars and Uranus both sit in your 7th house of partnership, which can make a conversation move faster than you meant it to. Let the other person finish their sentence and the pace settles on its own. For energy, the moon in your 4th house of home and inner ground asks for a quiet hour indoors, and Saturn, your period lord, is retrograde and debilitated in your 5th house, so creative output comes slowly today. The wide, generous feeling of yesterday now turns inward. Pass on something useful you no longer need to someone who does, asking nothing back. The day is yours to shape. Shape it kindly. Capricorn, today favors letting go of what you have carried past its usefulness, and you're better built for that than you think. Yesterday, the moon opened in your 2nd house of money, possessions, and what you value, so a quiet stock taking of what is truly yours may have been running under the surface. Now the moon moves through your 3rd house of courage, siblings, and short journeys, which supports the small brave conversation rather than the grand plan. Mercury sits in your 7th house of partnership, Capricorn, so say the plain thing to the person across from you and let them answer in their own words. Saturn, your ruler, is in Aries, retrograde and debilitated in your 4th house of home and inner ground, and this is why the day asks for repair rather than expansion. You play the long game by nature, not by discipline, so slow effort here is not a delay. With the sun in its own sign of Leo in your 8th house of deep transformation, energy runs deep rather than wide. Rest early, eat simply. What you release today makes room. Say the encouraging word you have been meaning to say, without waiting to be asked. Move through today at your own pace. It is the right one. Aquarius, today invites you to see your own reflection in the people who sit across from you, and that view is kinder than you expect. Yesterday, the moon sat in your own sign, so your mind felt unusually at home in itself, clear about what it wanted. Now, the moon moves into your 2nd house, which governs money, possessions, and what you truly value. So, a small financial review suits this day. Look once at what you are paying for out of habit. The Sun and Jupiter both light your 7th house of partnership. So, a conversation with a spouse, a close friend, or a working ally supports you more than solo effort. Aquarius, you're ruled by Saturn, and you think from an angle nobody else tried. That is exactly what a partner needs from you today. Saturn itself sits in Aries, retrograde and debilitated in your 3rd house of communication and courage. So keep messages simple and let a slow reply stay slow. Rest tonight without measuring the day's output. The arc here bends from self toward worth, and it lands well. Quietly finish a chore that was never yours. Tell no one, and let that be the whole of it. May the day meet you kindly and leave you a little lighter. Pisces, today you feel unmistakably like yourself again, tender, perceptive, and quietly sure of what matters. Yesterday, the moon sat in your 12th house of rest and retreat, so some part of you was likely turned inward, low on words, and needing quiet. Now the moon moves through your own sign in your 1st house of self and vitality, and your presence carries further than you think. In work and money, Saturn is retrograde and weakened in your 2nd house of earnings and stability, which favors reviewing what you already have rather than expanding it. So tidy one financial detail you have been circling. Venus sits weekend in your seventh house of partnership. Pisces, which ask for plain words instead of hints. Say the simple thing to the person who matters. Late tonight, the moon comes into a flowing trine with Mercury, exact at 2 minutes before 11 in the evening, and thoughts you could not phrase this morning will arrive gently. So keep the evening unhurried. The inward quiet of yesterday becomes clear feeling today. Ruled by Jupiter, compassion moves you first and imagination reaches where analysis cannot. So thank someone whose work usually goes unnoticed, wanting nothing back. Your free full chart is waiting on the website whenever you want the deeper picture. Whatever today asks of you, you have met harder days than this. May this day meet you gently, and may you carry a little more steadiness into everything you touch. Whatever your sign asked of you today, take it at your own pace. The small, practical steps are the ones that hold. Let the good windows be used without hurry. Let the tender moments be met with patience. And let rest be something you allow yourself rather than earn. If a chance arises to ease someone else's load, even quietly, offer it freely and ask nothing of it. If today's sky was useful, subscribing keeps it coming every morning.